All right. Welcome, everybody. We're here to talk about some Bitcoin. My name is Corey Cottrell. I got my buddy Travis Moorhead in here. We partnered up to create Crypto Consultants a whole month ago. Since then, everything has gone completely mental. I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later, but I'm going to give you guys some details about things that just happened today that are potentially life changing, which is fun. But it's every day now with Bitcoin. The Nasdaq just launched this today. The Nasdaq plans to launch Bitcoin futures in the first half of 2018. The CME, which is another futures exchange, has started launching. Make sure if you're not part of our Crypto Consultants group already that you join it, because we basically share. I keep my ear to the ground. We're sharing every bit of news that we can to keep everybody up to date and to educate people about this stuff. Because as I go through this, you're going to start to notice that there are things about this that make it both inevitable and completely world changing, and we're pretty excited about it. Anyway, watch this here.
Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill, okay? We are entering a completely world of uncharted water right now.
Have you made any investments in Bitcoin?
So, I personally own Bitcoin in my hedge fund. I own Bitcoin in my fund. I own Bitcoin in my private account. It is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge, huge deal. Because what you're talking about right now is for the next 3 to 5 years, an unbelievably better store value. It is gold 2.0.
I think this is a currency that's really going to work eventually.
Well, I think it is working, and there will be other currencies like it that may be even better. But in the meantime, there's a big industry around Bitcoin, and people have made fortunes out of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, there is no Bitcoin company, there is no Bitcoin building, there's not even a Bitcoin server anywhere that you could shut down. It is completely distributed. That's what's unique about Bitcoin. It is, for the first time, a way for the two of us to exchange value online without a third-party intermediary. Until the invention of Bitcoin, for you and me to exchange money online, we had to employ a third party, like PayPal, like Visa, like MasterCard, right? And we live in the 21st century. If we want to have a video call to China, we can do that for free. But to send a couple $100, which is essentially just ones and zeros being moved around, costs 5% plus takes over a day.
Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place, and of course for large transactions currency can get pretty inconvenient.
You'll see Bitcoin trading at 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. Rick Falkvinia does an excellent analysis. He predicts that Bitcoin will capture between 1 and 10% of the global Forex market, which implies a price of between $100,000 to $1 million per Bitcoin. Most of the people who are on the sidelines not buying Bitcoin today will start to buy Bitcoin when it gets over 1,000, and then a greater percentage of people will definitely plow into Bitcoin when it starts to get over 10,000.
It's still predicting Bitcoin $10,000 per Bitcoin in 3 years.
Casares, he is the CEO of Xapo, which is a Bitcoin wallet and Bitcoin vault.
I think it's mostly a very positive thing. I think we're going to see ups and downs like with any other emerging technology, but I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and it makes sense that it be taxed and treated like any other.
So let's make a bold call here. In 10 years, what do you think Bitcoin will be worth? One Bitcoin?
Between $500,000 and $1 million.
A lot of people are just seeing the charts and thinking, how high will it go? What I'm doing is counting backwards. This is a transactional currency, and it is a store of value. As such, it is a product and a service competing on a very tangible market for stores of value and for transactional currencies. So what is the size of that market?
Right, and this is important.
And how big a market share can Bitcoin realistically take within a foreseeable time frame? When you ask that question, then you come up with a market cap of Bitcoin total, and then you divide that by the number of Bitcoin in circulation by that by your estimated time, and seeing how Chinese are buying Bitcoin like crazy, I actually had to adjust this number upwards. But then you come up with a number of about $2 to $5 million per Bitcoin.
I suggest that everyone go back to buy one Bitcoin. Not too much, only one is enough. If everyone in this world, people, just to go back buy one Bitcoin, the Bitcoin value go to the $1 million. And when the Bitcoin have $1 million, all around the world will be crazy, and everyone will be the follow, and the other digital currency just to be be grandson of the Bitcoin. So for me, I think for a lot of people, they don't exactly understand why it's Bitcoin.
Is Bitcoin the currency of the future, or is it the payment system they're developing?
Bingo! It's the payment system. It's the blockchain encryption, and there are interesting things. I think Bitcoin, or the really blockchain encryption that's behind it, has a greater ability to bring more of the world's population out of poverty than anything we've seen.
If you're new to Bitcoin, take your time to go out there and Google it and learn about it. It truly is one of the most important inventions.
All right, so the first thing we want everyone to be able to really get a grasp on, and I know like a lot of people on this call, are already pretty much there, is that change has happened. My buddy Travis put this slide together. It's really awesome, because what impacted me the most is not that, BlackBerry turned, into the iPhones and Androids and basically got left in the dust because they thought, hey, everyone's going to want a physical keyboard, and they don't, right? Everybody wants the touchscreen because it's so much more of an elegant solution, right? They got left behind. All the change that I'm going to talk about in this whole slide has happened in the last 10 years, right? So the speed of that change and that progress now, and I think most of you guys can probably feel it and experience it and sense it, that speed is getting faster and faster, right? So, Blockbuster back in the day, everybody thought, hey, they're going to be around forever. They actually had a chance to buy this little upstart streaming company called Netflix, and they turned it down because it was too risky, right? Now we live in a Netflix world, baby. It just is what it is. And, compact disc audio, I used to burn CDs all the time. I'm a musician, used to burn CDs all the time and, hand them out. And, we thought that was great because, now anybody can do it. Music is democratized. We're all going to be rock stars. It didn't really turn out because now it's all free on Pandora and Spotify and everything else. It just that the model changed, right? And that's just in the last, 10 years. So Holiday Inn, you guys have all heard of Holiday Inn. What's really messed up about this, you guys might have heard of Airbnb. If you haven't, I'll describe it a little bit. So Airbnb is a place where if you have a room to rent or a house to rent out to vacationers, you can just put it up on their server and, on their website, and people can, rent your room or rent your house as if they were renting a hotel. It got so big that actual hotels are using it now. And Airbnb is now the largest hotel on the face of the earth. And it doesn't own a single room. That's pretty crazy. All right, so you know what Yahoo thinks. Yahoo is not a verb, right? Google is a verb. And what I like to explain to people around this is that when we talk about Bitcoin, a very big piece of it is the fact that, there's a lot of other coins coming out, altcoins, different things. We'll talk about that in a bit. But Bitcoin is a brand that cannot be you can't argue with it, right? Like Google is the pinnacle of search. Everyone knows what Google is. You don't search for things anymore. You Google it. Like it took over the word, right? And in a lot of ways, Bitcoin is doing the same thing in the cryptocurrency space, which is incredible and an amazing opportunity for us. Obviously, you guys know taxis. We wanted to talk about Uber, which is a lot like Airbnb. Uber is a centralized business, right? There's one guy at the top or a group of guys at the top that are making tons of money. It's actually valued well over $50 billion. It's a huge, huge company. And all it does is allows for me with a car to put my availability on a map, and for you as somebody who wants a ride to, hook up with me who's going to give you a ride, and then, you pay me a little bit of money and we're good. Uber takes a massive amount of the share of that ride for providing the service of combining my car and desire to drive people around and the rider, right? When we talk about the blockchain later on, which is the operating system that or the software that Bitcoin is built on top of, that same blockchain is going to like absolutely kill Uber. Like Uber should be shaking in its boots right now, and I don't even know if they know this. Someone should let them know. So I'm going to explain, when we're explaining what the implications of blockchain are going to be beyond just being an awesome way to, you know, have money and to do money. It's going to be really, really disruptive in a lot of other ways as well. All right. So what is Bitcoin? You know, we usually ask some people, you know, what is Bitcoin to you? But just in the interest of expediency, let's go through this. Again, if you have any questions or thoughts about it, if any of this stuff isn't clear, please write down a question or put it in the chats. And I promise you we'll get to it, because, you know, the what is Bitcoin is it's a tough one. You know, this is a paradigm shift. It's really, really new. And there's not going to be any questions that, you know, are too dumb or anything like that. Just please be, you know, vulnerable if you need to be. Ask those questions, because, you know, mine and Travis's, you know, everybody at Crypto Consultants, our main goal is to make sure that you get a lot of understanding about this this new, you know, paradigm shift, this new technology, and that you prepare for it, because this is what the world's going to look like in 5 to 10 years, period. So any questions you have, please ask. Here we go.
What if there's a technological advancement so powerful that it transforms the very basic pillars of our society? A technology which fundamentally influences the way that our economy, governance systems, and businesses function, and could change our conceptual understanding of trade, ownership, and trust. This technology already exists, and it's called cryptocurrency. People often think of Bitcoin as only virtual money or a transaction system. But if you look closer, you'll see that the monetary aspect is just the tip of the iceberg. That's because Bitcoin is a groundbreaking internet technology for which money is merely one of the possible applications. Money exists to facilitate trade. Through the centuries, trade has become incredibly complex. Everyone trades with everyone worldwide. Trade is recorded in bookkeeping, and this information is often isolated and closed to the public. For this reason, we use third parties and middlemen we trust to facilitate and approve our transactions. Think of governments, banks, accountants, notaries, and the paper money in your wallet. We call these trusted third parties. This brings us to the essence of Bitcoin. Bitcoin software enables a network of computers to maintain a collective bookkeeping via the internet. This bookkeeping is neither closed nor in control of one party. Rather, it is public and available in one digital ledger, which is fully distributed across the network. We call this the blockchain. In the blockchain, all transactions are logged, including information on the time, date, participants, and amount of every single transaction. Each node in the network owns a full copy of the blockchain. On the basis of complicated, state-of-the-art mathematical principles, the transactions are verified by the so-called Bitcoin miners, who maintain the ledger. The mathematical principles also ensure that these nodes automatically and continuously agree about the current state of the ledger and every transaction in it. If anyone attempts to corrupt a transaction, the nodes will not arrive at a consensus, and hence will refuse to incorporate the transaction in the blockchain. So every transaction is public, and thousands of nodes unanimously agree that a transaction has occurred on date X at time Y. It's almost like there's a notary present at every transaction. This way, everyone has access to a shared single source of truth. This is why we can always trust the blockchain. The ledger doesn't care whether a Bitcoin represents a certain amount of euros or dollars, or anything else of value, or property for that matter. Users can decide for themselves what a unit of Bitcoin represents. A Bitcoin is divisible in 100 million units, and each unit is both individually identifiable and programmable. This means that users can assign properties to each unit. Users can program a unit to represent a eurocent, or a share in a company, a kilowatt-hour of energy, or a digital certificate of ownership. Because of this, Bitcoin is much more than simply money and payments. A Bitcoin can represent many kinds of property, 1,000 barrels of oil, award credits, or a vote during elections, for example. Moreover, Bitcoin allows us to make our currency smarter and to automize our cash and money flows. Imagine a healthcare allowance in dollars or euros that can only be used to pay for healthcare at certified parties. In this case, whether someone actually follows the rules is no longer verified in the bureaucratic process afterwards. You simply program these rules into the money. Ergo, compliancy up front. The unit can even be programmed in such a way that it will automatically return to the provider if the receiver doesn't use it after a certain amount of time. This way, the provider can ensure that allowances are not hoarded. A company can control its spending in the same way, by programming budgets for salaries, machinery, materials, and maintenance so that the respective money is specified and cannot be spent on other things. Automizing such matters leads to a considerable decrease in bureaucracy, which saves accountants, controllers, and the organization in general an incredible amount of time. The programmable open character of Bitcoin allows us to completely rebuild and innovate our financial sector and our administrative processes, make them more efficient and transparent, and significantly decrease bureaucracy. But there's more. In an Internet of Things, our economy will be dealing with machines that actively participate in the economic traffic. In fact, they're already here. Think of a vending machine, or drones delivering packages. These machines are unfamiliar with the concept of trust, but Bitcoin is not. Because of Bitcoin, the drone can be 100% certain that it will deliver the package to the right recipient and know for sure that it's been paid for. And we can program the vending machine in such a way that it will automatically keep track of its supplies, order new supplies from the supplier, and pay for them automatically. Of course, you'll understand that this is only the beginning. Internet technology is disruptive and breaks the status quo. It opens markets and breaks the positions of middlemen all the time. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have caused a paradigm shift. It's time to explore this new technology constructively and critically, and openly discuss potential applications.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you guys a decent idea. Again, remember there is a chat function. I'm actually going to go through this little recap. Hopefully it'll address any questions you guys might have, and then I'm going to actually open it up for people that have questions. So I'm going to go through this page, and then we're going to open it up and see if anyone has any questions or things they want clarified. So a little Bitcoin recap, right? Because it's a lot of information to throw at people in just one video. So it is a digital currency, right? That just means we've been on sort of credit cards that are just trading around ones and zeros for a long time. It's like that, but it is a lot more. The technology is just significantly better. And we're going to go through that. So it's decentralized. What does that mean? That means that nobody runs Bitcoin. Nobody owns the software that runs Bitcoin is actually open source, which means that it the way that it's decentralized, the way that it's set up, it can't be hacked. It can't be controlled by governments or institutions. And we repeat that. It cannot be controlled by governments or institutions. That will become the dominant story of the next decade, I guarantee it. Bitcoin is sent without a bank or a third party. I was just talking to Travis on the message thread. He was trying to wire some money, and they won't even let him do it. You can't wire more than $1,000 with this account. Well, why? It's fine, right? So you can do whatever you want. I actually have a Mycelium wallet that I'll show you guys when we take it off to do the questions here. And I was just sitting with a guy who we were conducting some business. He wired me he sent some $8,000 worth of Bitcoin to my phone. Took 10 seconds, not even. It was crazy. So what I like to mention about this as well, banking without a third party and not being able to be controlled by governments or institutions. There are people in third world countries that have never had a bank, or their bank is a national bank, say in Zimbabwe. And if you try to send them money, that national bank takes 50% right off the top instantly, right? Now with a $20 smartphone, you can send money in any amounts you want to anybody on the face of the earth. And the transaction fees are super low. It's unbelievable what this is going to do for the world's economy. So Bitcoin is a safe, fast, and anonymous way to send money. While the blockchain is open and everyone can see all the transactions that take place, nobody knows who those people are. It's just like transaction A happened at time B, and it makes it both perfectly safe and completely anonymous for the people that are using it. Anyone can set up a Bitcoin account, so there's no qualifications. Again, the lady running a small business in Zimbabwe who's never even seen a bank can now do commerce globally. Period. Done. That the age when that didn't exist is now over, right? The ramifications for that, I think no one can even contemplate. Like, I have been thinking about it for a long time. I think it's much bigger than even I have imagined. So low fees, no chargebacks, and no borders. So low fees are awesome, right? If you want to send, like Bill Gates was saying in the first video, if you want to send a bunch of money overseas, they're actually going to charge you a percentage, right? With Bitcoin, the transaction fees are always a function of how much work the network has to do to transact it. So they can be $4, they can be $12, depending on the number of transactions that are happening at any given time. So no chargebacks. If you're a small business and you are running Visa, somebody can request basically a refund from Visa, and you can get a chargeback from that. Like if they say that if they contest that transaction, that's a real pain in the butt for businesses. And no borders. Again, we were talking about the Zimbabwe thing. But I mean, it would be as easy for me to send money across the breakfast table this morning as it would be for me to send some money to someone in China or to someone in Ireland or to anywhere. It doesn't matter, right? When people are up in the space station, I'll be able to send them money. It's just anywhere where the internet goes, this money can go, and it can go freely, and no one can get in the way of it. So blockchain technology has the potential to disrupt every major industry. And I'm going to talk about this more down the line, but the software, the system that Bitcoin is built on top of is going to have an effect on every single business on the face of the earth within this decade. Just trust me, it's going to be nuts. All right, so there's this thing over here. What just happened? There we go. So where can I spend Bitcoin? We already have to adapt this page because there's been, oh, hey, I was going to actually open it up and get some questions here. I know what I'm doing. Boom. All right, so let me stop sharing for a second, and just going to unmute everybody. All right, so everybody's unmuted except for the people that have kept themselves muted. So that's up to you guys. So in the chat over here. Oh yeah, so Bobby asked if Bitcoin was similar to an IRA fund, and Travis answered, nope, Bitcoin's like a currency. Just like the ruble, yen, or dollar could be compared to gold. The blockchain technology under Bitcoin allows the programmable applications and contracts that can be used without a third party or institution to enforce them. That is always fun. So does anyone else have any questions? Josh.
What was that about the...
Sorry, go ahead.
Who's going, Josh?
No, Bobby, go ahead.
Josh, go ahead.
No, Bobby, go ahead. I was just calling him out.
All right. Gotcha. It was mentioned in the portfolio how you can put whatever you want in there. Real estate. It had mentioned how it can break it up. So that's where I got confused with.
It's important that is a little bit misleading in that video. So Bitcoin itself is just a currency, period, right? But there are ways to use the blockchain that are going to allow cryptocurrency to basically be representative of other things. A really good example is, the Civic coin, which is one of our favorites. Pretty soon you're going to be able to use this token. You're going to upload all of your personal information to this system. It's unhackable. It's totally secure. But when somebody else, like the DMV or somebody else, where they need to prove who you are, you're just going to hand them this digital token or show them this digital token, and Civic will tell them that you are who you are. They'll never get your personal information. So now, because of that one application on the blockchain, identity theft is going to be over, right? You can also have a situation where, on the blockchain, I could put my house up on the blockchain, and these are in development now, but this is sort of the idea, right? I could put my house up on the blockchain. You could put your money up on the blockchain. When both of those things exist, then the sale of my house to you would happen, and it would just swap. And that ledger is on the internet forever, and it just works out, right? Those are different things than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just money. It's just real good at it, right? So that's a solid question. Does that kind of answer it for you? Bobby, does that kind of answer the question?
Pretty much, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot.
All right, good. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Hit me.
So I've been reading, and a lot of people are saying that, Bitcoin was the first to market, and it's popular because it was first to market. It's not necessarily the best technology. I've watched a lot of people try to use it. It takes a long time for the transaction to happen. And when you're standing in a Walmart line trying to use a Bitcoin, it's not the best. You sound pretty sold on Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. I've been reading that there's other blockchains that are faster and are the new wave, the 2.0s, the 3.0s of these cryptocurrencies, which are going to be more readily exchangeable at services and be
right.
Like they don't have the headlines that Bitcoin does, but they're moving that way.
Right. No, that's a really good point. And I think we've been doing a lot of research on this, and the brand awareness, like I was talking about, like Bitcoin being first to market, Bitcoin kind of being the Google of this market. There's a lot of reasons to think that Bitcoin will be around just for those reasons. But what we have come to believe and kind of understand is that Bitcoin is not meant for buying a coffee at your coffee shop, right? Because you're right, like it's the fees are a little bit higher. The timeline, unless you're using the QR codes, it really is instant if you do that. But the timeline can be a little bit longer for the transaction to be verified by the network. So the thing to think about, the way that we're pretty sure this is gonna break down, is Bitcoin is the perfect store of value. Right. It's also the perfect way to send money overseas. It's, its use case is in sort of large transactions and holding a store of value that is going to be deflationary, which basically means that over time you can buy more pieces of gum than you could before, right? As opposed to the US dollar, where, if you bought a piece of gum 20 years ago, now you can buy like the wrapper. I think that's all you can do. So it's really, really good as a store of value that will accrue value over time, because there's only going to be so much of it. And again, the brand awareness has people buying that. So it's, it's synonymous with the cryptocurrency space, period. Okay. So it's very good as a store of value. But Litecoin, for example, is an extremely, extremely good and fast way to do transactions. So what we're seeing happening is they're creating ways for you to have Bitcoin as a store of value and to use Litecoin in partnership with it to immediately basically do transactions in real time that will use Litecoin and Bitcoin together to do both of those things. Those things are called atomic swaps. If you want to Google those, you go down the rabbit hole on those for days. My take on it is that all of this stuff is just information, and people over the next 2-3 years are going to get really, really good at handling all of that, right? So at the end of the day, all coins are going to be able to be used interchangeably at more or less the same speed. The transaction fees might be a little bit differently, but they're all going to get used together and seamlessly, very, very quickly. So what's left after that? Store of value and brand awareness, right? And again, it's entirely possible that something will come down the pipe that will be, more popular than Bitcoin and eventually pass it. We just don't see what it is yet. And granted, we're going to be diversified and getting prepared for that. So, Gene, you have a question, or Carrie?
Yeah, it's Carrie. Hey, I had a question about do you see in the future like withdrawal from Bitcoin back to do you see that like right now it's only able to be done through like a third party store?
Hey, Carrie, are you covering the microphone, or a little tough to hear?
Okay. Is that better?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was saying right now, to withdraw Bitcoin and turn it back into cash, it takes a third party resource to do that. Do you see that banks possibly being able to put Bitcoin right back into cash?
Yeah. So that's a really, really interesting question. So I want to tell you about a meme that I saw recently. It's got Neo and Morpheus on it. And Neo is saying, "Are you trying to tell me that I'm going to be able to trade these Bitcoins in for millions of dollars someday?" And Morpheus says, "When you're ready to do that, you won't need to." And needless to say, I got a kick out of that. So that is a huge need, right? And that is only going to get bigger over time. I think that that's something that we'll probably see in the marketplace really, really soon, right? Like if I had $100 million, that's probably something that I would do, because you could basically set up your own bank and seamlessly turn Bitcoin back into fiat. But the whole point is the US dollar requires a third party, right? it's one of those things that has been sort of baked into the model. Now, that being said, there are going to be ATMs pretty soon, and we're actually going to be talking about them here pretty soon. There's going to be ATMs everywhere. You can actually find ATMs around here now where you can buy Bitcoin. You just can't bring it back into US dollars. But pretty soon you'll be able to do that. They're going to charge you a fee for it, but you'll be able to do it. So right now, what we're telling everybody is, if you want to take, you make a bunch of money in Bitcoin, you want to bring it back out. Right now, I would use Coinbase. Right, that's just the one thing that I have personally used, so I know that it works as far as taking money backward and forth through the bank account. But yeah, I think that's going to change over time. And the number of stores where you can actually spend Bitcoin is going to go completely and totally rampant over the next couple of years. As well as in Europe, they already have this card called 10x that's basically a credit card, and you have Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum all loaded into your 10x card, and you can just use it in stores. So that's probably going to be coming as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just asked that question because I know U.S. currency is going to be around for a long time yet, even though this is making strides. I was just curious about the transition back and forth.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely going to be around, and for at least a decade, right? Like it's not going to go away overnight for sure. Probably even longer than that. Now. It's probably going to look less attractive all the time. So that's awesome. Does anyone else have any questions? Bobby, put his hand up.
I buy $10,000. I buy $10,000 in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It goes into my own bank, and I got $10,000 worth of Bitcoin now that I can spend.
Yep.
Okay. Then I can go to Walmart and buy a basketball hoop with Bitcoin.
Not yet, but you could go to Purse.io, which is an awesome website. Purse.io, where you could buy anything from Amazon.com for 15% off if you use Bitcoin. Yeah. Now, here's the other thing. And we'll talk about some of this moving down the road, but Bitcoin will accrue in value. So the problem with spending Bitcoin is nobody wants to do it. Right, and that's why it actually accrues in value. So, is there any other questions? Let's probably get moving here. All right, so I'm going to mute everybody, and again, I'll stop a little bit later on down the road. So, if anyone has any questions, we'll be able to pick them up on the other side. So, yeah, where can I spend Bitcoin? We're already again having to update this slide. I was just talking about Amazon with Purse.io. Obviously, like when Amazon decides to start taking Bitcoin, Bitcoin's going to go bananas. So that's going to be fun. You can use it at Dell. You can use it at Shopify. You can actually get an entire MIT education through Bitcoin now. Microsoft is already taking it. Expedia is already taking it. And that's going to be the story of the next year. Store after store after store after store are going to be accepting Bitcoin as currency. So, we've been talking about Ripple. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Top global banks and tech companies can't ignore Bitcoin. They're not using Bitcoin. They're using the technology that built it, right? So all of these companies are using the blockchain because it is faster, it is more secure, and it is cheaper to use. Coinbase, Bobby had some fun with this today, and Coinbase
Corey?
is where. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey Corey, I don't see your screen at all. I don't know if you're, that's just me. Or...
No, that's probably true. How's this? Actually, you know what? I got to make sure I get the audio on there. Thanks for the heads up there, man. All right, boom, shared. All right, so let's go back here. I was just talking about the banks and stuff. Those are all the banks that these are all the banks that in some way or shape or form are using the blockchain, which is fun. And there was all those stores back there. Thanks, Travis. Good catch. So Coinbase is where most of us kind of get our first Bitcoin. You can go in.
Corey.
Yeah.
Corey?
Yeah.
I see your screen, but I think it might be the wrong one.
Okay. It's probably the whole.
The presentation. I see the desktop.
How's this? Is that good?
Better.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Good. Excellent. So Coinbase is where you can go to buy Bitcoin, or as we like to call it, turning USD into better money. And you can actually buy Ethereum there as well, which again is another coin and Litecoin. And it's like, as we were talking about, you can actually take your Bitcoin from your Bitcoin wallet in Coinbase back to your bank account to turn it into US dollars to use it, all over the place. So this is a ledger. Part of what we want to do with Crypto Consultants is educate people on security. This is a little, it kind of looks like a little USB drive. Travis actually bought a few of them already, and they're really, really cool. You can basically attach this thing to your computer. On the top of it, there's a bunch of little buttons where you could put a code in, right? And you could put Bitcoin on there. So what does this mean? This means that even if your computer is completely hacked and people are like logging your keyboard strokes and you just are completely exposed and don't know it, if you're using a ledger, no one can take your Bitcoin. So when you have $1 million in Bitcoin, you use a ledger, it has a physical code, no one can get that but you. And the other interesting thing is you'll also back that up on a paper wallet, and we'll be teaching people how to do that in some courses after, at local meetups and stuff. So with the security thing, if there's any questions around that, you can get with me and Travis, and we can show you how all that stuff works. So here's the nuts and bolts. CoinMarketCap. We've been doing this for about 3 weeks. Travis made this presentation about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And CoinMarketCap is basically the Wall Street Journal of the cryptocurrency space. It's actually getting more views per day than the Wall Street Journal. And we'll just give you some details here. So you look at the top corner, there's 1,200 plus cryptocurrencies out there on 6,500 markets. The market cap, it says, is 196 billion. I think it's like 350 now. It's a lot. It was like 300 billion a while ago. It's probably somewhere in the range of 320 or something. Because Bitcoin went crazy and is awesome. So 24-hour volume, it's about 5 billion. That means that $5 billion is getting traded every day. It's actually up now. It's probably about 8 now. Is getting traded every single day in the cryptocurrency market as a whole. So Bitcoin dominance, that basically you want to look at that to see how much of Bitcoin itself has the entire cryptocurrency market. So when we talk about, Bitcoin is the first to market and, is it going to last forever? We don't know, right? There really could be something that comes out that's better that, is the Facebook to Bitcoin's MySpace. We don't know what that is yet. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. And the thing is, Bitcoin holds most of the entire cryptocurrency market all by itself, which is really, really important. So this was 3 weeks ago when Bitcoin's price was 7,000. It is not 7,000 now. The market cap back then was about 119 billion. It's got to be about 165 now, and that means there's 165 billion US dollars in the Bitcoin market or in Bitcoin itself. 24-hour volume on that is 2 billion. And this is what's important. So we're going to talk about this in a minute. The circulating supply, the number of Bitcoin that are in the world or on the internet, is 16.6 odd million. Okay, this is going to be really important in a minute. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the other coins that are in the top 5 here. So Ethereum is its own currency. It is a store of value. You can buy Ethereum and you can use it to buy stuff, right? But what is way more important about Ethereum is that it's almost more of a programming language than an actual currency just on its own. So you could do smart contracts with Ethereum. When we were talking before, Bobby was asking about it, where you want to make something on the blockchain that represents oil or that represents a contract like a sale of a house. Ethereum is the kind of thing where you can program that into it. Interestingly enough, they figured out that you can also launch altcoins. You can make your own cryptocurrency and launch it on the Ethereum network. And that's where you're seeing honestly, a huge chunk of the altcoins that are coming out are actually built on the Ethereum network, which is interesting. Bitcoin Cash is a little bit more of a complicated topic to get into. Bitcoin actually forked into Bitcoin Cash. It's basically the community trying different things to make Bitcoin better. If anyone has any questions about that, you can get with me after and I can explain that. Ripple, I do want to touch on Ripple. Ripple is what the banks did, right? Ripple is the banks decided, okay, this blockchain thing is really amazing. We want to be able to send money across borders and to each other as banks, and we want it to be faster. We want it to be more secure. We want it to be cheaper. What do we do? So they just built their own coin, and there have been people saying, hey, I can go buy this coin for 20 cents. It's going to go to $1 million, and we're all going to be billionaires. Okay, look at the circulating supply of Ripple. It is 38 billion, 500 million, right? So no matter how much money goes into Ripple, it's going to get split up into billions and billions and billions and billions of chunks, right? And it really is, in our opinion, I think Ripple's going to be around for about 5 years. It's the bank's last gasp. Like, imagine if Blockbuster started streaming videos, but just to itself, right? That basically is what Ripple is to the market. Litecoin, I joke about this all the time. Litecoin is my buddy Travis's girlfriend. He absolutely loves Litecoin, and he loves Litecoin for a reason. Basically, they created Litecoin to test different systems instead of testing it on Bitcoin, right? So you create a smaller one, and anytime you have a really, really good idea, you test it on Litecoin, and it, you know, perpetuates through the network, and, you know, you can kind of see what happens, right? You can test things without messing with Bitcoin. But on the flip side, it's become its own thing. It's become really, really amazing. The transactions are cheaper. It's much faster, which is why before we were talking about Bitcoin being like gold 2.0. It's an amazing store of value, and Litecoin is probably going to be used in combination through something called the Lightning Network. You can ask us about it, or like Google that. Again, that's the Lightning swaps are a rabbit hole that really expands the mind. That's what you'll use to like buy a coffee at the store, right? So they're going to be used in conjunction. Dash is another interesting one. Yeah, Travis was on a flight in Hawaii, and you know how they have the movies that go up there, and he actually saw a commercial for Dash. Dash is another coin. Its, you know, main use case is a store of value, but it's also very, 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 very secure. So, you know, your identity is extremely hidden. Like it's very private way to do cryptocurrency. So that's just a few of them. Again, there's a bunch of them, and you know, the market is I don't know, it's crazy. Like watching everybody basically throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. They're trying everything they can. The innovation in the space is just mind-boggling, right? And so our primary concern is, okay, what is the big thing as investors, the way that we are? Like, how do we take advantage of the largest movements in this that are going to be the least risky? That's why we landed on focusing primarily on Bitcoin. So putting the world's money into perspective. Over here, we got Bitcoin. Again, this slide was made a little while ago. It says 41 billion. It's like triple, almost quadruple that now. It was 118 billion as of 11/5 when we made this thing. 200 billion market cap for the whole cryptocurrency market. You know, is actually almost as big as Amazon. The cryptocurrency market, no, it was actually Bitcoin passed Disney for for market cap. So the market cap of Bitcoin is actually now bigger than Disney, which is completely nuts. And you can see, you know, as you go through it, like Amazon is 402 billion. The whole market of cryptocurrency will catch up to that in less than 6 months. Apple is 730. The amount of US dollars in circulation is 1.5 trillion. So that's all money that's kind of out, paper money, that kind of thing. The gold market cap is 8.2 trillion in the world. And this is what we really want to focus on, the gold, because, you know, it really is gold 2.0. It's an amazing store of value, right? If Bitcoin were to capture half of the gold market cap, Bitcoin would be between $1 and $2 million per coin. That's just the use case of being a store of value. Never mind all of the rest of money, right? All money in the world is 83.6 trillion. Any reasonable fraction of that, and you're looking at millions of dollars for a single Bitcoin, which, I mean, you can see kind of why we start getting excited about it, because the trend on this stuff has been moving in one direction since its inception, and it is a better way to store value than gold. It's just better at it, right? If you want to trade in gold, like throwing gold from here to Zimbabwe, really hard, very hard. If you want to throw Bitcoin, super easy. All right, 2017 returns, and this, we got to redo this slide because, you know, in the last 2 months it's gone. It's just not even anywhere close now. So you can, just to give you a sense of it though, global real estate, 5% returns over 2017. 10% for gold, which apparently was actually a really good year for gold. U.S. equities did 11.5%. Everybody's super happy. The stock market's going to go up forever. No, it's not. Global equities are up 18.3%. Bitcoin, as of April, was up 181.3%. And most people are like, "What? That's crazy. 181% is fantastic." Add the last 3 months. For a minute, it was up 780%. Now it's up well over 1,000%. Bitcoin has gone up 10 times. More than 10 times in the last year. So that's fun. So we want to talk about the visualization of the future. So for a really, really long time, we were using whatever we could use to do transactions, right? It just started as barter. Hey, you killed that fish and I have some grain, swap it, awesome. But if you killed a fish and what I really wanted was some arrowheads and you don't have them, well, that's a problem, right? So people started using other forms of currency basically to allow them to have an agreed upon thing of value. So, I could give you a fish, you could give me some ducats or some shells, and I could take those shells to the arrowhead guy, and the arrowhead guy would give me some arrowheads, and then, Like that's how the whole currency thing works, right? But shells are not good as currency. They get broken, you can sit on them, very dangerous. So they started using things like gold and silver. They started using gold and silver because they're basically indestructible, right? You can throw them in the ocean, leave them there for 1,000 years, pull them up, shine them up, and they're basically the same thing. And that as a technology worked really, really well for a long time. All of human civilization until very recently is built on that idea. In 1973, they moved to something called fiat money. What does that mean? It means that money is backed by nothing, right? The number of people that I've talked to that don't know this is astounding. Now, the U.S. government, and in fact, most world governments, will print money because I wanted to, right? So that's where we're seeing inflation and sometimes rampant inflation. When the United States says, hey, we're $20 million in debt, that literally doesn't mean anything. They're not in debt to anyone or anything, right? They just printed $20 trillion worth of money, and now it's out there. And, obviously that's why a pack of gum is 20 times more expensive now than it was in 1973, because there's just more and more money all over the place. And, it's just a giant shell game, right? And so everybody's been seeing that this is kind of a problem. However, it's worked fairly well, all things considered. The entire global economy is based on this, and, productivity is up 18 trillion%, whatever it is, right? So it's been working, but it's been working for the people that are controlling central banks and central money in a way that it doesn't work for normal people, right? Now, we have cryptocurrency that started coming up a little bit as of 2009. Why is it different? Basically, well, for a lot of reasons, and I could spend the next hour just talking about that. But this started with just people investing in an idea with real world money, right? And deciding that it has value. So Bitcoin only has value because we all believe that it does. Interestingly enough, it also takes about $1,000 worth of computer and electricity work to create a Bitcoin. It can't just be popped out of nothing, right? Which is really important. And there's only ever going to be 21 million of these things. So scarcity is built into the algorithm designed by Satoshi Nakamoto. If you don't know that story, I'll tell you about it later. The guy basically is Bitcoin Jesus. But you'll see, as we got up to about 0.01% in adoption or awareness, that was in about 2013. Everybody was calling it drug money, right? Because some guy bought some drugs on the dark web and that got in the news, right? The real drug money, if you want to know, the US dollar is the currency of choice for every drug on the face of the earth. Just putting that out there. Now, up at the top of that little circle down there, 0.1% adoption or awareness. Everyone was saying, "Oh my goodness, this was a bubble. This is the beginning of 2017. This is a bubble. The sky is falling. It's going to come crashing down." That was when it was at 3,000. Obviously, that did not happen. But it's important to understand that we've developed all these amazing technologies. We've got the little magic rectangles that you're looking at me, you're listening to me from right now. We basically got supercomputers in our pocket. We can fly in tin cans all over the world. Things are amazing, but we were still using either gold money or just pure silly monopoly money for currency, and it just wasn't working. Cryptocurrency really is the answer to that in 100 million different ways. So we're at the beginning of cryptocurrency. We're estimating right now that it is at about 1% awareness and adoption rate globally, right? The Japanese are taking this. They actually just legalized it as a currency already. The Koreans are all about it. Most of the mines are in China. The United States is way behind on this, oddly enough. But it's still only 1% of people that have either heard about it or are using Bitcoin. That, as an investor, or as anyone that just, if you've never invested in anything before in your life, that should, the bells should be going off, right? That's like investing in the internet when the internet was running DOS and 14 odd modems. It's a really, really intense moment in our history as a species, frankly. So as we go through this, you're going to see cryptocurrencies, and again, whether it's Bitcoin or whatever comes after Bitcoin, are going to take over from fiat money. Like, there is nothing that can stop this now that it's out in the world anywhere on the face of the earth, which is pretty exciting. Like, the ramifications of that, and again, we think about this basically 24 hours a day. I still think, even though we've been kind of brainstorming this and trying to figure out the ramifications, I don't think we even know yet. I really don't. It's kind of mind-boggling. All right, so I know we said a little bit before. So the thing about why Travis and I got into this, Travis got into it. He started trading. He started making money. It's like, yay, because he didn't want to work. He's like, he made almost 200 grand as one of the top producers for Aflac last year. And he's like, well, selling insurance is fun, but it's not that fun, right? So I want to just solve for money and not do this anymore. And for me, it was the same thing. I've started a few businesses this year, running the podcast, running the Facebook Live show, still doing the musician thing or whatever. But, I looked at what Travis was doing, and he's trading these things. And I'm like, man, that's amazing. We should at least, get our feet wet and see what's going on. And I almost tripled my money in 3 months, and that was amazing. But starting to think about, and after today, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but after today, I firmly believe for myself that we have solved for money, like in our family's life. We've been researching this stuff nonstop. I'm going to show you everything that we're doing, and so you guys can take a look at it. But it's really, really intense. This podcast that I was running for a while, the Baboon Room, we've had some really, really amazing guests on it. I've been really, really lucky, frankly. We've had a Vice.com war correspondent, and we've had one of the top science podcasters on the planet. The meeting that I had today will lead to interviews that I do that will make those just nothing. I sat down with one of the biggest lobbyists in Florida today. Sitting down as well with my friend Whit Ostrenko, who is the ex-chief of Mosey. Mosey is Whit, is doing all of the things that I'm going to show you. Right? He's actually talking to schools. He is talking to retirement institutions. He's talking to foundations that are funding science to help them to get into exactly what I'm going to show you. And this lobbyist that we're talking to, watching him see the ramifications of borderless currency, of currency that you that no government can track. The IRS doesn't even have any clue what to do with. Like the opportunities are amazing, and the opportunities to help people are amazing everywhere on the planet. And so, I'm going to be doing an interview with state senator pretty soon. Like, there's just a number of things that are going on are unspeakably huge, right? So I'm going to show you guys how we have made money in the past and how we're making money, moving forward. But keep in mind, the money's first, right? Bitcoin is first. The real ramifications of the blockchain technology are going to be what comes after. And frankly, it's going to come after we are all ridiculously wealthy. So we started out trading. I want to kind of cover this a little bit. Long story short, with all the technical aspects and stuff, I'm really recommending to people not to trade, right? What we figured out is and I'm not an expert by any means, but as a novice, I've done decently well in Forex, and I translated that over to cryptocurrencies and did pretty good, right? We've had friends that we know that have lost considerable amounts of money because every time it goes up, they want to keep it because it's going up, and every time it goes down, they want to sell it because, oh my God, and that is of course exactly wrong, right? Travis actually was really, really good at trading for having no experience whatsoever. He just liked a coin and bought it. And, that was enough to make a really, really good chunk of money. What he realized, and what I realized after, is that he made about the same as if he'd just held Bitcoin, right? Because saved a whole bunch of time. And I made just a little over if I had just held Bitcoin. And again, wasted an enormous amount of time compared to what we're doing now. So this is kind of the emotional thing, right? As things are going up, the wrong people are buying, right? And the right people are selling. As things are going down, the right people are buying and the wrong people are selling, right? It's exactly the opposite of what human emotion would want you to do, which is why people get in trouble. So, talking about the different ways that we are now making money in this space and helping other people to do the same. The first way, and this is legit, is to buy Bitcoin and hold it, right? There's literally nothing wrong with that. Bitcoin right now is over 10,000. I'm going to check it out, but I'm pretty sure it's still over 10,000. When this slide was made on October 3rd, it was 4, right? There's not an investment like a normal stock exchange investment that you can be as certain of, in my opinion. Over the long term, that said, over the short term, we could absolutely see a 50% reduction in Bitcoin in the next 3 days, in the next 3 months. We have no idea. So if you're going to buy and hold Bitcoin, buy it and walk away for 2 years, right? If you're going to buy it and look at it every day, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. You're going to want to come do what we're doing. So somebody just had a question here. I want to touch on this real quick before we move forward. So yeah, Bobby says to buy Bitcoin through Coinbase and let it just sit there and accrue value. You can absolutely do that. We have a friend, a lawyer buddy of ours, who bought $500 worth of Bitcoin. This was about a month ago, and it went up in value over the weekend. And he was like, "Oh my God, I just made $100." He was like so happy that it was astounding. It was like $100 to a lawyer. It was hilarious. But the next week, it went down a bunch, and he was like depressed. He was like, "I only have like $450 now. The sky is falling. This is $500." And it was amazing. So if you're going to buy and hold Bitcoin, you buy it, you put it on a ledger, you put it on a paper wallet, you put it in a safe, and you walk away. Do not look at it. Don't pay attention to Bitcoin. Don't be obsessed with it. Don't nothing, right? And most people can't do that. So we're suggesting not to buy and hold Bitcoin as your primary source. Although buying and holding some is great. There's no real wrong way to do it if you start with buy Bitcoin. All right, so what do all these companies have in common? We usually ask that question. Nobody has any idea, and it's because there's no reason why you would unless you're a nerd like me. All of these companies are using something called algorithmic traders. So what that means is you basically put your money on their computer, and their computer has algorithms in it that have been training themselves on hundreds of years of economic data and price movement on how to trade stuff, right? And your money will basically accrue value because these bots are trading it for you. Right, so all of these companies are doing that. Wealthfront actually bring up, because Tim Ferriss talks about Wealthfront all the time. It's gone from a small Silicon Valley company to a $3 billion basically hedge fund level company that just normal everyday people can get into, where they're using everything from sector cycling to non-correlated trades to all these different things that in the markets make a whole lot of sense. It just does it for you. Right? Wealthfront will do between 12 and 15% a year. And in the normal markets, that is amazing. And, it's just a bot. It's a robot that's trading your money. What we want to talk about, though, is USI Tech, because USI Tech is not trading US dollars. It's trading Bitcoin. So let's watch this little video here, and you will, just get some. I mean, this video is basically just pizzazz. I just like it. All right, so that's USI Tech. We're going to talk a little bit about how USI Tech is taking Bitcoin and trading it for people here in a minute. I want to let you know, as I show you these things, I want you to keep in mind, this is what Travis and I are doing. You know, we have a team of people that were put together that are doing the same things. We've researched dozens of companies to come to these ones. You know, when you search these things, you'll find good stuff, you find bad stuff, blah, blah, blah. Just remember, the main thing is when we look into these companies, we want to make sure that you know, they are as legit as humanly possible, that they are doing what they say they're going to do. They're going to pay out the way that they say they're going to pay out. And we have found that to be absolutely true with both the companies that we have personally partnered up and put our money into. It's also really important to understand that this is not in any way, shape, or form financial advice, right? I am a guitar player, right? I'm a relatively well-read guitar player, but you know, again, you have to do your own research on this stuff, and you have to assume your own risk. It's really, really important, right? These things are fantastic. We've got, you know, well over $30,000 in these two companies combined for our partnership. But at the same time, we are assuming our own risk. So if you do decide to do any of this stuff with us, it's just extremely important that you do that. It's one of the reasons why we're in a couple companies, because we want to diversify and minimize all the risk that we can. So there's the giant caveat, right? But here's the fun stuff. So one Bitcoin package costs €50. It's actually $60 US or $80 if you're in Canada. You must purchase in Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out. Your Bitcoin package runs for around 140 market days. What does that mean? Monday to Friday. It actually goes for about 6 months. You receive an average of 1% per day. This is not in any way, shape, or form guaranteed. This is based on 10 years of market data of them using their bots to trade things like Forex. They were doing this before even Bitcoin came out, right? So it is in no way, shape, guaranteed, but tracked over the last decade of them using these algorithms, they've been getting between 0.75 and 1.25% per day, right? So they're taking your Bitcoin and increasing that Bitcoin's value. To give you a bit of an idea, if you were to put one full Bitcoin in, it's 10 grand now, 10.3, whatever it is, you would have 1.4 Bitcoin in 6 months. So what's better, holding Bitcoin for 6 months or buying these things for 6 months? I'll give you a hint. It's this. So again, that's one of the things we're interested in is, you know, you can buy and hold Bitcoin, or you can throw it in these bot trading contracts and basically make 40% in about 6 months. And again, there's a plus or minus of 10 days that we've noticed. Like, we've researched a bunch of people that have been doing this for a while. There's a variability of about 10 days, but anywhere where you can, you know, make an even reasonably certain 40% in 6 months is just amazing. So this, you know, is kind of a breakdown of what's possible. I'm actually going to break out of here and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys a really, really good sort of test of this. Okay. We were actually talking to somebody about this morning. So USI Tech, like we've got a few thousand in it right now. We're talking about adding 10 with our partnership right now. So this is definitely something that you can do at size if you want to. But I want to show you guys what happens if you just do a small bit. Okay. So we're going to do one Bitcoin package right now. And then we'll do one Bitcoin package that is automatically purchased every month. You can set that up in the system. Okay. So we go down, it's showing daily reimbursement, blah, 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 blah. You go down to the bottom here and your earnings, and they use a comma in a weird way. That's not like 12 trillion BTC, but you have 12.4 Bitcoin. What did I set that at? 4 years. So you have 12.4 Bitcoin. In 4 years, Bitcoin could be $500,000. It could be $10,000. Either way, you've made a crap ton of money, right? So for the average person, for like a waitress who, you know, is just working every week and barely making it or whatever, $60 a month is entirely plausible, right? And you can get it down to the point where if you do that continuously for that long, it compounds and compounds and compounds. This is with reinvesting. Everything that you earn over that time, you're reinvesting in real time. So every time $60 shows up in your sort of wallet on USI Tech, it automatically buys another one. This creates compounding leverage, and it is real good. So that's USI Tech. And you can just Google USI Tech calculator, and you can play with those numbers. We have played with them a lot, and they're all pretty fun. All right, so go back into this thing over here. So that gives you just a fun breakdown of what's possible. And again, long story short, just think about it in terms of you can have one Bitcoin in 6 months, or you could have 1.4. And it actually compounds, so the number is actually significantly higher than that. So the one that we are the most invested in is about 90-10 at this point, is BitClub. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, and I will explain them shortly. But first, like this is the mining contracts that I've been talking about and kind of hinting about online. It's important to understand what Bitcoin mining actually is. So we're going to watch a short little video that will give you an idea of the concept of mining and the sort of real world applications of it. So check this out.
What is Bitcoin mining? Bitcoin operates as a peer-to-peer network. This means that everyone who uses Bitcoin is a tiny fraction of the bank of Bitcoin. But where do Bitcoins come from? With paper money, a government decides when to print and distribute money. Bitcoin doesn't have a central government. With Bitcoin, miners use special software to solve math problems and are issued a certain number of Bitcoins in exchange. This provides a smart way to issue the currency and also creates an incentive for more people to mine. And since miners are required to approve Bitcoin transactions, more miners means a more secure network. The Bitcoin network automatically changes the difficulty of the math problems, depending on how fast they're being solved. In the early days, Bitcoin miners solved these math problems with the processors in their computers. Soon, miners discovered that graphics cards used for gaming were much better suited to this kind of math. Graphics cards are faster, but they use more electricity and generate a lot of heat. The first commercial Bitcoin mining products included chips that were reprogrammed for mining Bitcoin. These chips were faster, but still power-hungry. ASIC, or Application-Specific Integrated Circuit chips, are designed specifically for Bitcoin mining. ASIC technology has made Bitcoin mining even faster while using less power. As the popularity of Bitcoin increases, more miners join the network, making it more difficult for individuals to solve the math problems. To overcome this, miners have developed a way to work together in pools. Pools of miners find solutions faster than their individual members, and each miner is rewarded proportionate to the amount of work he or she provides. Mining is an important and integral part of Bitcoin that ensures fairness while keeping the Bitcoin network stable, safe, and secure. For more information about Bitcoin mining, visit bitcoinmining.com.
All right, so that's mining. So this is the Bitcoin difficulty increase. And I want you guys to understand this because it's going to have an impact on a lot of the numbers that we're going to talk about here in the next little bit. When it first started out, it was actually really, really easy to mine Bitcoin. And when you solved a block, it would actually give you 50,000 Bitcoin on the spot. Now, granted, this is when Bitcoin was worth, nothing. So people had to be incentivized to mine it and effectively run the system, right? And you can see on this graph, like it's going up, but it's a logarithmic graph. 10,000, a million, 100 million, 100, whatever, 100 million, 10 billion, that kind of thing. So when you think about that in computer terms, it used to be that your laptop could run it, and that was awesome. And then you would need like a bunch of really, really high-end GPUs to run it, and you could still, make some money doing it. Now you have to imagine giant server rooms full of specially designed computer chips that will run Bitcoin and Bitcoin only, and they'll do it really well. They're all liquid cooled. They're all, it's really, really hard to do now. So as an individual, we wouldn't be able to do it. I was talking a little bit before we started the presentation with a couple of the guys, and, we actually set it up so that we had some investors lined up already. We were going to buy 4 ASICs miners. That's the application specific chips just for Bitcoin. And, we were going to set that up. I was going to learn how to do all the coding and stuff so that we could mine. I was kind of excited, nerding out about that. But I was worried about downtime, because I didn't know if I'd be able to keep them up all the time. Electricity costs were going to be incredible. And what we found was really, really interesting. What we found is that you can't buy them. All of the top end ASICs mining rigs that are on the planet have been bought up years in advance by giant mining conglomerates, right? So, and a lot of times these are pools, right? You get a group of people together that pool their money together, and they point their servers at the network, and it basically runs the Bitcoin network doing the mining, right? And it was amazing. Like the manufacturing of these chips is ramping up all the time, but huge companies are buying all the good stuff up literally 3-4 years in advance. So I started thinking, man, we're going to need to find a company that is already doing this and partner up with them. And before I could find this one fell in our laps. It was pretty amazing. So the transaction fees are meant to replace block rewards. So the block reward, you solve one of the blocks in Bitcoin, and as a miner, you get rewarded with some actual Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin gets created, you get it, yay money. But transaction fees are happening all the time. As the network gets more populated, more people using the network, more transaction fees are happening. The miners that are verifying those transactions will actually get those transaction fees. And the system is designed to, over time, have the transaction fees replace the block reward, which is cool if you want to be making money in mining, 100 years from now. So literally, and I'll show you how this works, but the mining that we do now could ultimately pay us for decades and decades and decades, right? That's assuming that Bitcoin is still predominant or even preeminent or still around, right? Which is interesting. So, I'm expecting, I'm not worried about Bitcoin dominance for at least 5 years. I think we're going to see at least that before it becomes different. Anyway, so happy 3rd birthday to BitClub. Again, this slide is a little bit behind the times too, because the world is moving fast now. 60,000 plus Bitcoins mined. You can actually check that on blockchain.info, third-party site, because the entire network, the entire Bitcoin network is live on the internet. You can see the whole thing. 100 plus millionaires created. Most of them are created in the last 12 months. 300,000 members in 90 countries. Again, BitClub is kind of everywhere and nowhere all the time, which is really fun. They're not actually based in any one country. They're kind of all over the place, and anyone can have equal access to it. So it doesn't matter if you're a guy, or this guy that Travis talked to, who's got some contracts that he's buying in Guatemala, or the UK, where I'm talking to some people, or Canada, the United States, or anywhere. It doesn't matter. If you have access to the internet, you can do this. So this is blockchain.info. This was the thing that when I was looking at this stuff was really the last kind of nail in the board. Blockchain info shows a graphical version of and all the data around the blockchain, or the Bitcoin blockchain, like the actual network itself, because it's all open source. You can see everything that's going on. So you can see here, these are all of the major players that are mining Bitcoin right now, right? So you see Antpool and BTC Top. These are kind of the big 5 over here on the right. They're actually partnered with Bitfury, which is owned by this guy, Richard Branson. You might have seen Virgin Galactic. You might know who that guy is. So that's Bitfury. And then there's Bitmain, which is actually a Chinese manufacturer. They're partnered with these people. But they realize, you'd think like Bitmain and Bitfury could just use the miners themselves, right? Why don't they do that? Well, the reason why they don't do that just themselves and make more money, frankly, is that you have to decentralize the network or it won't work. If you had all the computers in one room, you could blow up the room, the network is dead, right? You really do need to have it so that there are thousands and thousands of computers running copies of the blockchain network so that you could never hack it and so that you can never turn it down. So that's why they decentralize everything. And if you look over here on the left side, BitClub network, it's actually gone down a little bit. They're adding about 3 or 4 times as much hash rate. Hash rate is the speed at which Bitcoin is mined over the next little bit. I personally think that this drop is because mining is getting really, really popular. The difficulty is getting really, really high, and they're in the process of upgrading all their stuff. But they're still at I think 2.5, 3%, whatever it is. But seeing that, you just can't not see that, right? There's no way to fake that. This company is doing the mining that it says it's doing, and it's showing up on the blockchain. That third-party validation was a really big deal to us when we were looking at different companies. So. This is just a little thing, a little video about the facility that's up in Iceland. So hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. I'm just turning the sound down a little bit on this. So it shows they've been mining since 2014. They've mined just a bunch of Bitcoin. They really are. They're in the top 10 Bitcoin miners in the world. And all of these different things are actually ASICs mining rigs. They're actually individually numbered. You can actually get pictures of the rig if you want. One of the things we found that was really neat, you can actually send them $25 and they will mail you your miner. They'll mail you your ASICs rig, which for the record is a really dumb idea because it will not be making you money while it's in the mail, but you can do it. When we're at the end of our 1,000-day contracts, we're absolutely doing that. That's going to be fun. You can actually go up to the facility in Iceland when they do special events a couple times a year and get tours of the place. Travis and I are actually talking about doing that in January. They're all individually numbered, like I said, so sometimes they'll you can ask for a picture of yours. They show you what your mining rig, which is super fun. And again, when we were looking around at stuff, okay, so you're showing me pictures of mining rigs and stuff, like how can you tell? There's actually a lot of companies out there that are saying they're mining, and we don't think they are, right? They're not showing up on blockchain.info, therefore you're not real, right? That's a big deal to us that we actually know people now that have gone to that place. You can actually see videos online of people that are doing it and stuff. Like, it's just that we really wanted to make sure this company was real before we put any money in it ourselves, and certainly we wanted to know it was real before we told any of our friends about it. So when we first started getting into we were doing the trading, we're all really excited about it, and we started trying to figure out, okay, how do we help people to make money in this space, right? Some of you guys might know I was talking to Travis Mears about starting a Forex fund, right? And you quickly find out that the SEC, the government does not want just normal people making money. I was literally not allowed to talk to anyone about joining my fund who didn't have a liquid $250,000. If you want to invest $500, I wasn't even allowed to talk to you. So we just shuttered it. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I'm doing this. So I was thinking, okay, well, why don't we start a cryptocurrency fund? And while it's the Wild West right now, there's literally nothing that can get in the way of it. I was like, man, the SEC's got to figure this out at some point. So we wanted to avoid, future regulation, which is why we started looking for different things like mining contracts, spot traders, that kind of thing. But we also started thinking, hey, it's like $30,000 to $50,000 for an ATM. And we were pricing them out. We were gonna put some investors together and buy some. There's some cropping up all over the place around here. And BitClub, this company that we started looking at for mining, is already in ATMs. They're going to be launching them this year, which is hilarious. CoinPay is getting announced in Korea and Japan in the next 2 weeks. And now what CoinPay is it's going to be an app where anyone on the face of the earth can basically start accepting Bitcoin payment for their business. It's going to be very, very big. It's going to be able to swap between different currencies. Like, you'll be able to pay with US dollar, you'll be able to pay with, whatever, the ruble. But the entire network globally will be run through this one thing. And we've seen some stuff on it. It's going to be really compelling. What's hilarious about this is Travis had an idea to start a coin around creating a point of sale system. Right, a point of sale app. We have an entire email thread where we were talking with developers to try and do this. And then we land on this company, and they're announcing it right now. Right, it's happening in the next couple of weeks. So we could spend 6 months trying to basically field this idea, spend a bunch of money in development, and hopefully have a product by the end of the 6 months. Hopefully it works, and then we could go out and start marketing it and spreading it around the world. Or we could just partner with a company that's already done it. Obviously, you can see what we went with. No, how do you get involved with BitClub? So it's a one-time $99 membership fee, $99. That $99, you can only do it in Bitcoin, right? So whatever Bitcoin is at the time, $99 worth of Bitcoin will get you a membership fee. There's no monthly, there's no annual. This is a one-time, done, you're finished. And then you can get different pools, which basically puts you in different larger, small groups of people that are getting chunks of the pools that are, effectively portions of those machines that are basically cranking out Bitcoin. So it's a 1,000-day mining contract. They used to have these minimum commissions and repurchase. What does that mean? The commission is the money you're making, and the repurchase is the money that you would basically reinvest to keep the lights on, to keep the maintenance costs, that kind of thing. Even though that repurchase was actually still counting towards your leverage and the amount of money you were getting out of these systems. They actually scrapped that because they're trying to throttle the amount of money that's in the system a little bit, because they're trying to. And if you have questions about this, I'll understand. This gets kind of technical. They're making enough money so that they don't have to do any of the mandatory repurchases anymore. That's all set to zero now. What that means is you can set it to whatever you want. A little bit down the road here, I'm going to show you what our strategy is, like our personal team strategy is, which is 100% rebuy until 2019. I'll show you the numbers, how they break down. But technically, you could just buy either a 500 pool one package or one of the founders packs and just get your money every day. It pays out every single day on mining. Now, it should be noted, this is really important that you pay attention to this, because sometimes we get questions about it after. That 1,000 days starts 30 days in, right? So you make your order, 30 days from then is when your 1,000 days starts. Now, we heard a bunch of stories about, why that is. Long story short, I think that's their profit margin, or one of their profit margins, right? This company is obviously making money in partnership with us. That 30 days is basically a way for them to say, okay, we're partnered now. That's awesome. We're going to take 30 days worth of mining revenue, and then the next 1,000 days are for you, which frankly, I'm entirely okay with. Now, we've bought, I think we're at about, I can't remember if we're 3 or 4 founders packs now, between Travis and I. And this is by far the most popular. And the reason for that is this. When you get a founders pack, you get a pool 3, pool 2, and pool 1. You get all of that. So you're mining all of them at the same time. You also get $1,000 1,000 CoinPay shares. And that, to me, just alone, we watched the Club Coin, which is like another thing that they're doing. We got, like, when we bought our founders pack, we got 50 Club Coin. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, Club Coins are like about $1. It was like an extra $50. That's a nice little thing. So the month, and we've been doing this for a month, it went up 6 times. Like, there's people that we know that had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 Club Coin because they were in, longer than we are, and they put, way more money in. And they're sitting on tens of thousands of dollars for the Club Coin now, which is amazing. Those CoinPay shares, that just from even the conversations we were having today, that point of sale system is going to get rolled out in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be global. Those shares are going to accrue in value. I don't know if it's a lot, a little bit, or a whole crap ton. We just don't know. But the idea that you're going to get 1,000 shares of it right now, and that's going to go away fairly soon when you get a founders pack, that was really compelling to me. So, okay. Yeah, and so that basically is the bit behind that. I want to show you guys a breakdown that we put together. Was it Windows in the plus sign, or Control? Definitely not Windows. Whoa, everything went crazy. Uh-oh. There we go. That's 100% less crazy. All right. So we did. We actually had some research sent over to us. We've adapted a bunch since then, but this is sort of the breakdown of our projections. It's really important to note that there are so many variables in this market now that these projections should be taken with a giant grain of salt. Okay. What I'm personally expecting is that these will play out, between 10 and 200% of what we're going to show you. We just don't know. But this is the best information we have right now, so I want to share it with you because we really dug this when we first saw it. So when you get a founders pack, plus the $99 one-time membership fee, this was the results that were actually received. This is real data from October of last year to July. Okay, and as you can see over here, in October they did 0.113 of a Bitcoin that first month, and that was when Bitcoin was $630, which is purely comical now. But that's what you pulled in, and the next month it was 10% of a Bitcoin, 0.1. The next time it was 13% of a Bitcoin, and then 18% of a Bitcoin, and you can kind of see how that goes. So that whole year ended up being it ended up being an average of 13.26. Now, over the last 110, 115 days, I've been doing a lot of research online, tracking people's videos who are showing their back offices, where you can kind of see exactly what people are getting paid over and over again, and asking people that we partnered with since then. And it's been a running average of about 10%. Now, on the back of that, really recently, the number's actually been a little bit lower. It's been like 7-8%, right? So that's something that we're tracking and that we're paying really close attention to now that we're getting our own mining data. But I figured, we wanted to set it at around 10%, right? Because it could go up, could go down a little bit more, but the average for the last year and a bit is actually over 10%. So we feel like that's pretty safe. However, to be more conservative, I'm going to leave the USD Bitcoin value where it was when we got this spreadsheet. So this is calling for Bitcoin to be at $4,000 or $5,000 right now, not 10 or 11, right? So that is a tremendously big deal if you like math at all. So this whole thing is based on Bitcoin reaching 20,000 by 2020. Some of you guys might know McAfee Via Software. He tweeted today that his estimation for 2020 was 500,000 before, but that was based on models having Bitcoin be $5,000 now. He's actually since upgraded that, since it's 10,000, that by 2020 he is dead certain that Bitcoin will be $1 million per by 2020, or he will eat a piece of his own anatomy that I will not share with you guys now. But that to me is so mind-boggling. I can't keep it in my brain. So we're going to keep it at 20,000 just to see where the numbers show up. Okay. So when you get a founders pack or any one of the pools, when you get a certain little percentage, about 2.5% of Bitcoin, that, 2.5% of your original amount. So like of $3,500, when you have $100 of Bitcoin in your BitClub back office, you can set it to automatically rebuy another little share. So that means you've got a tiny little 1,000-day contract that's going to run a full 1,000 days all on its own. And it's going to accrue a tiny little bit of Bitcoin the whole time, right? But that gets really, really, really important, because that means that you can reinvest everything that you make, and it will, instead of waiting $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 before you can buy another computer, which would have been our problem, every tiny little slice is adding compounding effects to the entire structure, which is really cool. Like, instead of mining with one ASICs rigs, now you're mining with like one and a bit, and then one and a bit more, and then one and a bit more, and it gets really powerful. So let me break this down for you. So you start mining. Again, this is in August. We're about 2 months behind on this, but you'll see, where it ends up anyway. So you have one share, and when you earn 10%, now you're operating 1.1 shares, and then 1.12 shares down in October here, right? Or down in the third month, and then 0.14, and then 0.16. So with this graph, it actually takes, over here, it takes about 6 months to get to the point where you're operating 2 shares, right? So in 6 months with 100% reinvesting, it's like you're mining with 2 founders packs, which gets really fun. But it only takes 4 months to get down to three shares. And it takes basically another month to get down to 4 shares, and then 4.5, and then almost 6, and then 6, right? You see how the compounding starts to take effect. So you go down to January 2019, and again, you can see the price of Bitcoin on the other side, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. At the end of January 2019, folks, that's a year from now. They're talking about, in this graph, Bitcoin being 8,000 a year from now, right? You have about 15 shares running. And, for people who want to come on board with this, we're actually targeting that as a really, really important date, when you have 15 full shares running, and we're going to be able to track that in your back office. So we're going to be at, and Travis and I and the lion's share, basically everybody we've talked to that is doing this, they're going to keep their investments at 100% for the first about a year and a half, right? Or until their number of shares is around 15 or 16, which with the price of Bitcoin, that could be way faster, right? But we could easily see a 50% reduction in Bitcoin at these levels. It would not be weird in any way, shape, or form. So we really don't know when that's going to be. Like, just imagine the target as January 2019. At that point, we're going to, instead of doing 100% reinvest, you go into your BitClub back office, you change it down to 50%. So that means that when you earn $11,970 in January, right? And again, I personally think that's really low, but again, we'll find out, right? We don't know. Then you're going to reinvest 6,000 and you're going to pocket 6,000. So what does that mean? Pocketing 6,000 means that Bitcoin will go into your BitClub Bitcoin wallet. So you'd be able to take it from BitClub and send it to your Coinbase wallet so that you can throw it into your bank account if you wanted to, or your Mycelium wallet, which is one of our favorite just kind of phone wallets that we use, right? So that's money that you now have that you can spend or reinvest in other stuff, which is what we're going to be doing, frankly, or what have you, right? So, but you see that because you're still doing the 50% reinvesting, your number is still going up. So 11,000 or 12,000 turns into 16, turns into 19. And you can see the numbers over here. This is what you're both reinvesting and taking out, right? You're reinvesting in that May part, you're reinvesting 12,000, but you're taking out 12,000. So it gets pretty good. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And by around this May, right, or I think it's around the 30th month, your 1,000-day initial share is falling off. But you'll notice all the other shares that you've accrued are still going. Those little tiny 1,000-day contracts are still going, right? And you reinvested 50% the month before, along with all the other ones. So this really is going to go on a long time past the end date, right? So you can see the numbers start to get really, really entertaining. So by about mid-January 2020, you're looking at having created or earned 125 Bitcoin total, right? And 73 of those Bitcoins will have been taken out and are liquid, which basically means that you've got that money in your personal wallet and you can go and spend it, right? And you've been taking that money out for that whole basically year and a half. So if Bitcoin is 20,000, you're looking at 1.46 million, which is fun. 73 Bitcoin at 20 grand in 2.5 years. No one that I know of thinks that Bitcoin is going to be 20,000 in 2.5 years. Nobody. My personal take is that it's going to be between 40 and 100, and that we have no idea. Now, granted, is it possible for it to go to $10? I mean, it's sort of an interesting point. Like in the realm of physics, yes, if everybody sold their Bitcoin, it would be $10, but nobody is, and nobody is because it's a fantastic store of value that accrues in value because more people believe in it all the time, more people coming online, and they know that only 21 million of these things are ever going to get created, which is fairly compelling. So, yeah, that's a good little chunk. Now, we've actually done different variations of these numbers. I actually tracked what it would be if Bitcoin comes down to about $40,000 or $50,000 by the 2020, which I think is an even better conservative estimate. Like the million thing, again, I can't even imagine that. It is entirely possible, but I can't hold that in my brain. So the rule of thumb that I take, and what I want you guys to take away from this, you can hold Bitcoin for 2.5 years, you're going to make money, right? As long as you don't look at it, because the price variability in any given moment is probably going to be pretty high. But if you mine or are using the bot traders, you're multiplying your Bitcoin, right? Like with the BitClub stuff, it could be anywhere from 20 to 200 Bitcoin in 2.5 years. Either way, you're doing very, 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 very well as an investment, right? If it drops down to somehow like 1%, you're still making multiples of your 3,500, which for wanting a sort of a risk reduced way to increase value in your portfolio. I mean, that was compelling for us at the end of the day, right? Again, in no uncertain terms, I cannot give financial advice. This is not financial advice. This is just what we're doing, and this is why we did it. And we want to share it with everyone because honestly, we keep looking, and I still am, for the error in this math, the error in this thinking, and I can't find it. Can't find it anywhere. So that is pretty much it for the presentation side of things. So I want to open it up and basically allow anybody to ask any questions that you guys have. Stop sharing that. I'm going to unmute everyone.
Do you have to get your own CPU thing?
All right. So I heard something about a CPU thing. Who asked that question?
That was my wife.
Hey.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
No, I was just I said so. It's $3,500 you pay to that BitClub or whatever, and then plus, do you have to have your own CPU and all of that?
Right. Good question. No. So there are companies actually where you buy your own computer and then you pay a fee and you point that computer at a pool. And that's kind of a more efficient way to earn Bitcoin. This is actually just buying 1,000-day contract. So you get some Bitcoin, you put the you buy the contract from BitClub. They do all the mining for you. They basically have giant server rooms like in the video there. That one is actually up in Iceland. You can go to it and hang out. We're actually going to do that. I said that already in January. But yeah, that's basically it. You're buying. It's the way I described it to some friends of mine is you're basically renting an extremely high powered computer from a company to create Bitcoin for 1,000 days.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody else? Anyone? Bueller.
$500 is the smallest contract.
Yep. For BitClub. Yep. Travis, could you maybe give us your 2 cents? I mean, we've been partnered up with this for on the non-trading stuff for an entire month. It feels like a year and a half. But give us your take. Like I know you've been experiencing some pretty amazing. Well, we both have. What's your take on this? Where do you see it going? In the next by the end of it, like even the whole thing. What would you have to say?
I believe in this so much that I got last year I made $176,000 selling insurance, and I gave up that job completely and invested so much money in this company that I am confident that I'm going to retire in 6 months and never have to work again.
I mean, that's pretty good. I guess.
To say any more than that.
End scene. Yeah. No, we have a buddy of ours that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess like, so one of the things is like, obviously we get a little bit by sharing this with you, and then so you can share with somebody else. You get a little bit for doing that. And so because of the way it works is if you actually, the more you invest, that compounds even more. So that's why I'm saying that is because I invested about $25,000 into this, and the way that I did it and the way we can teach you to layer it compounds that dollar figure that he showed you, that 1.5 million can be compounded, and you put yourself like advance yourself along that line. If you look at that chart, it shows like a year and a half in or whatever, how much higher that percentage starts growing when you get to that point. So I'm basically buying in and eating up that beginning part, so that way that compounding is so high right away where I'm going to be making a lot right off the bat.
Right. It really, so if your goal is to work up to 15 shares and it takes 6 months to get from 1 to 2, right? If you buy 2 shares, you just bought 6 months, which is
exactly.
which is huge. And we actually developed a package that is worth about 3 founders packs that pays almost 3 times as much. So we're getting real good at layering things in their system so that our clients make more and more money, which is kind of fun. They just get to create more and more leverage. So it's pretty good. Not gonna lie. And again, the smallest one for BitClub, as Bobby was saying, is 500. I got to remember the $99 membership fee. But we got a buddy of ours that just with I was talking about the Mycelium wallets. He bought one of these. We call them modified trees. It's not really going to mean anything. Long story short, just these packages that we put together that, if one of these things is capable of putting together, about 1.46 million, these trees should be able to do about 12, or times 3 factor for whatever you're getting into. We're talking to people that are throwing tons of money at this because, it just makes sense. But that being said, it's really, really important to state you should only invest where you're absolutely prepared to just flat out lose, right? We're in 2 different companies for a reason. We have a really, really high degree of certainty with both of these companies, but with neither one is at 100, right? Like we basically have to, all be super smart about it and mitigate that risk every single way that we can. So if you're going to do one, I would suggest doing both. A lot of people are also holding a little bit of Bitcoin as a hedge. You want to be as risk averse as possible, but still pull the trigger. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Travis, you got anything else?
If you're gonna do nothing else, buy Bitcoin and hold it. Like it's going somewhere, and you don't want to miss the ride up. And we're basically showing you, if you want to do more than just buy a Bitcoin and hold a Bitcoin, we're showing you how to either you got 2 options there. You buy the golden egg, or you buy the golden goose that lays the golden egg. We're showing you how to get the golden goose that lays the golden egg because that's better.
Well said. That's better. And scene. Does anyone else have any questions? All right. Josh of the excessively better beard than mine. It's good to see you, man. Seriously,
dude, Josh is laying in bed. I'm so jealous right now. I need to get
right. I'm tired. I've lost sleep over these cyber currencies. Oh my goodness.
that is a common problem.
Yeah.
We're basically resigned to not sleeping for the next 6 months, and that, like, for us guys, like that, if anyone's interested in the referral side of things, again, it's really important to understand that you buy this mining contract, it spits out Bitcoin. Never talk to anyone about it. That does not change, right? The whole referral thing was just to incentivize people like us to basically go and share it and increase a little bit of leverage for ourselves, right? But it's a mining contract. You buy it, it's going to spit out money, period. But if, like us, you're like, okay, well, this is a message that I feel comfortable sharing, then we can show you how to do that. And I mean, just in the last month, we've done well. Once the wire comes in for the one client we have in Canada, it's going to be $100,000. Like it people see this and they want to do it because Bitcoin itself is crazy. Anything that will multiply your Bitcoin is like multiplying crazy. So we can talk about that. So if nobody else has any questions, I want to respect everybody else's time. I already went an hour and 40 minutes because this is giant. Thank you guys for hanging out, man. I'm really glad that you guys got to check it out. I'll talk to each one of you guys on Messenger and stuff, and yeah, we'll just ride Bitcoin to the moon. I was gonna check to see where it's at. Actually, I think it's back over 10,000 already, which is good. It's always fun. All right, 10.4. Oh, sorry, 10.5. 10.5.6. Oh, it's just a lot. That's crazy. Anyway, you guys have a good night. I am going to make a recording of this available to people by request. I ask that you only send it to people via Messenger. We're not posting this on Facebook. We're not making it public. But again, if it's an idea that you want to share, with a friend or family member or whatever, just let me know, and I'll be able to send you the private video link. And yeah, if you have any questions, by all means, get a hold of us. You can, most of you guys know me. I'm on Facebook 24 hours a day, or you can give me a call. And if you're seeing this video later, if somebody has shared this with you, the person that shared it with you, they're going to know how to get a hold of us. We can answer any of your questions, and we're available to you and to those people as well to, basically, answer any questions you guys have and set it all up and make this thing purr like a kitten that spits money. That was weird. Anyway, yeah, the golden goose is better than the golden egg. I mean, that's like, you learn that when you're 4. Anyway, you guys have a good night. Thanks for hanging out, and yeah, we'll see you all on the flip side.